Welcome to the She Will Shine podcast, where we bring you the real stories of female business owners. My name is Danielle Price and I'm the founder of She Will Shine, a supportive business network for women. It's time to give a voice to women in business and discover their journey. Hi everyone and welcome to the She Will Shine podcast. Today we have the lovely Renae Howard with us. Hi Ren, how are you?
Good, thanks Danielle.
Thanks for being here today. And just to introduce Renae is the art director of Gosh Creative, a boutique graphic design business. She started in February 2004, and she's also one of our fabulous She Will Shine members. So really great to have you here, Ren, and sharing the story of your journey to where you are now.
Great, yeah, thanks for having me, Danielle. Yeah, sounds like a long time when you say 2004.
It is. So what are we, 2020? What is it, 16? Is that 16 years?
Yes. Yeah, it is.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy.
That is crazy. And I'm looking forward because it's changed a little slightly along that journey with who you now work with as a solo, and now you have a team around you. But we'll get to that. But the first question I want to ask you was, when you were in, say, high school, did you know you wanted to be a graphic designer?
Yeah, I have always wanted to be a graphic designer. I think my parents had a couple of friends that had connections to an agency in Melbourne, Samuelson and Talbot, which I don't think is even around anymore. But I was fortunate enough to do work experience there before you sort of got to that year where you did work experience. So I had a little taster of it, and then thought, yep, that's definitely what I want to do. And then I just started doing makeup sort of ads and stuff at home, just drawing and making sort of ads and posters and things. Yeah.
Just for fun.
Yeah, and also my parents had a bakery in a small country town, so I did the like the pie bag designs and the invitations to things and specials and stuff. So yeah, it was good. They were all, and it was before computers, so they're all hand drawn. And so every now and again, you go through a box of things and you find it, and you're like, oh, okay.
Put that away for another few years, then it comes out again.
Yeah.
So you came from a small business family then?
Yeah. Yep. I grew up in a small country town, and my parents had the local bakery. So yes, definitely grew up working. Well, yeah, we worked school holidays and things like that, bagging hot cross buns and working in the shop, selling cakes and making salad rolls and things on a Saturday morning. That was probably my first job.
Yeah. And did you think at any point that either you'd want to continue doing that in the family business or possibly do your own have your own business?
I definitely didn't want to take on the family business. It was a lot of hard work and it was hard to have family holidays because the shop only shut on a Sunday and long hours. And I actually didn't like working in the shop much. I thought, I had to wear this horrible uniform, like little sort of tea cozy hat, and and it was really embarrassing. And not that that's why I wouldn't work there, but it was sort of, no, I wanted more. A small country town, I didn't really desire to live in either. Yeah, at that point. And I thought, well, I always wanted to be a graphic designer, whether it was for myself, probably not to start with. It was more about working in an agency and
Yeah. And so did you move to Melbourne for uni? Did you get a spot in the Melbourne uni, or did you go to a country uni?
I wanted to go to Swinburne because that was the it course to do back then. It was like Swinburne or nothing. But because I went to high school in Swan Hill, there was no subjects to get into uni. So then I moved to Bendigo with a girlfriend for year 12 and did, because you could do graphic design and graphic communication and photography as subjects in year 12. So I had to do that to be able to get a folio to get to uni. But on the day that you had to send your slides in,
I remember this. The memories are flooding back, Ren.
And you had this window where you had to get them developed and mounted, and then put in a special envelope and sent off in time. Anyway, they all came back. They didn't develop properly, and basically I couldn't put in the application for Swinburne, which was well, yeah, it was a bit devastating because that's where I really wanted to go. And I went to all the open days since year 8. I went every year to Swinburne's open day. Come down to Melbourne from Swan Hill and just, do all the open days. I'm like, definitely want to go here. But so instead I applied for Bendigo, which was La Trobe, and then Deakin in Warrnambool. And ended up getting into Deakin in Warrnambool. So, yeah.
So you moved out quite young then, Ren. Year 12.
Yeah.
Did you find that difficult, or was that just like awesome?
It was a full-on year. Like, I think because we'd sort of stayed up all night getting our cats done, and then we'd have coffee and walk to school, and because we didn't have a car because we were 17, but school was walking distance, so from the house. But because we didn't have parents, we found a lot of people came to our house to party and sort of, had friends that had a band, so they'd come to our house and jam. It's like, oh God, we're never going to get our work done. So I don't think I slept very much in that year, but I think it also set me up for uni, and that I'd done a lot of that social thing that you do when you get to uni. So I was sort of not crazy when I got to uni, where there was a lot of people just failed subjects because they didn't sort of put the effort in, whereas I had that crazy year 12 year, and I got to uni. I just wanted to do really well as well.
Yeah.
So
you're a bit more focused than most of the others.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And then what came after that?
Well, I did work experience at uni in Melbourne, and then when I got back, I got a phone call and said, if you don't know what are you up to when you finish your course? And I said, I don't know. Look for a job. And they go, well, you've got one here if you want it. So that last half of third year was hard because I'd sort of I was ready to work. Like, I wanted it to be real.
Yeah.
So
I guess you'd wanted it for so long too, because you knew so early what you wanted to do.
Yeah, and it's different. Unis, I mean, sure, you learn, the background to design, and your fundamental, why design principles and all of those things. But I was ready for it to be real and see it. I wanted to see my work, in consumer and in public eye and whatnot. So it was hard that last half because I was sort of like, oh, I've already got a job, but I had to finish.
Did you find, like, working in an agency, was it all that you had hoped and dreamed for?
My first job was horrible, actually. It was just boring. Like, I didn't, I did, what was I working on? I was on sort of Dunlow Pillow and what's her name? Martha Stewart Wool Wash. But I just sort of got all the, like, they had sort of really low budget clients. So I remember I had to do this bread packaging for there's like this small bakery that the boss just art directed it till it looked terrible, and I was like, how many times can you change this? And so I sort of got a bit, like, I knew I wouldn't stay there long at all. And then so as soon as I could, I sort of left. I learned a lot about finished art, and I always had to clean the bromide machine at the end of the year because that's what the junior burger had to do.
Yeah.
And always make the coffees and stuff. Like, it was a bit blokey. So it was like, you can make the coffees and you can clean the bromide machine and you can sit and listen. So it was good. It was good because it was that step from uni to working, but it definitely wasn't what I hoped it would be at all.
Definitely a junior role.
Very junior, yeah.
Yeah. I remember, here's this for bad first agency jobs. I had to clean the storeroom, and anyway, that was my job, which I did. But on my Christmas card, that's what my boss wrote to me. Thanks for cleaning the storeroom. You were great. And I'm like, really? I just did all this study and you're writing, thanks for cleaning the storeroom.
Yeah. I didn't get paid much at all either. In fact, it was quite hard to even make ends meet. So,
that's right. Living out of home, especially at that time.
Yeah, and it was really, really junior wage. But I didn't, at that point in time, you don't negotiate well, I didn't negotiate. I just thought, yeah, I've got a job, I'm going. So
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I was completely underpaid, but then I suppose I was making coffee and cleaning through my machine. So how much do you pay someone to do that?
So then what was next? What was after that?
Next was a place called Catalyst International. So I moved from Cheltenham into St Kilda Road.
Oh, wow. Agency strips there. Yep.
So that was great, except I was extremely, I don't know, nervous, I suppose. I had a few meetings with them, or interviews, 3. So and each time someone extra would come along, and it'd be like an account manager or, so I managed getting that role, which was good. And I went through, when did I go through? I went through Connie Schultz. Do you remember Connie Schultz?
Oh my gosh, these names.
Yeah, so
for the listeners that are just listening, my background is in graphic design, if you don't already know that. And so Ren and I have a lot of overlapping sort of connections, I guess. Oh my gosh, that's a name I have not heard for a long time.
No, I really like Connie Schultz. And so she actually got me, like I went through her for the job at Catalyst. But before that, so I went to her as well as, what was it, Matt Ducks? No, the other one?
Yes. So these are all recruitment agencies specialising in designers. Yes.
Yeah. So I went to one of those, and they, I think, referred me on to Connie Schultz. Anyway, when they left this is just coming back. When they left the room, I just read their notes, and when I went to Connie, she'd had my referral notes from them, and I just sort of glanced at it, and it said something like young country girl, that was sort of a bit like not very creative. Yeah. It was really quite condescending, and I went, oh my God, I can't believe I'm reading that about myself. So
isn't that interesting though, that's the kind of feedback that they had at that time?
Yeah. Yes, it was sort of, I thought, wow, this is what I'm being judged because I'm from the country, and sort of, I guess it just gave me more of a desire to sort of show them what you can do, sort of thing. Yeah, so that was interesting. But then, so I got the job at Catalyst, and that was because their main guy, Ben, had left, so that I was filling his shoes. And for the first month, Ben didn't do it like this. Ben wouldn't do it like that. Yeah. Ben said, you can do this. Ben.
You just got to change it to Ren, thanks. Change the B to an R.
I know. And it was like that for the start, because he was there for a crossover period. And it was like, Ren, Ben, boardroom, Ren, Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so I lived in his shoes for a bit, and it took a while for them to sort of get over there.
So was it a big agency, Ren?
No, it wasn't. It was more account managers than designers, so under the pump. Yeah. In fact, it was just me until a little while down I sort of needed. But and because I'd moved from Mount Waverley into Albert Park, so I would walk to work. Anyway, the boss knew that I lived moments from the office. So sometimes I would start at 6:30 and leave at 9, and then he'd be like, and you'll be in here again early. So it was at those days when you just got flogged, you did long hours. But I did get rewarded in big bonuses at the end of the year, which made you think it was okay. Yeah. But yeah, it very much became sort of my studio, I suppose.
Did you like that, kind of having that ownership?
Yeah, I did. And he was an amazing man, that boss. He just was very, like, we'd go to forecasting meetings and he'd say, he had his business vision and plan was incredible. And I thought, wow, how do you know that this time next year we will have picked up this client and this client, or this amount of money worth of clients? And I mean, he was an older man, and he'd been around the ad land and worked in the UK and everywhere for years, like at Ogilvy and Mather, and like all the big Saatchi, like he'd worked everywhere.
The big names.
Yeah, and he just knew his stuff, and people respected him. So they knew that it was big when Ziggy was Telstra. So then, we got the Telstra account, and I did Telstra at MobileNet was my logo, and all of that. So it was a big learning curve. I was nervous at the start because I'd come from such a small little studio and really not done much except mundane sort of things. So it took a while to, like, it was good. I got to sort of mark my spot there, I suppose.
Yeah. Do you think also being exposed to that with obviously a boss who was very switched on in business and very forward thinking, do you think that kind of helped you get, when you were ready to start your own business, kind of helped you in that regard?
Yeah, definitely. And I think working for him, for John, I wanted, it did make me go, one day I would like to do my own thing. But I think as I went along in my career and learnt more, because there's no way at the start you'd go out on your own. No way on earth. Like, I wouldn't even know where to start. So I think all the steps along the way, it's like, well, the end result is definitely having your own agency or your own,
So isn't that
studio.
interesting, Ren? Because I never thought that I would, like, with two different, completely different experiences, same industry. I never thought that I would run my own business. Even as I was working through different businesses, I never really thought, yep, I want to do this for myself.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how we've kind of had different experiences within that same area.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, all those long hours that you do for somebody else, it's like, oh, I could do this for myself, Yeah. So it was good. And I left Catalyst because I was going traveling. So I and it was time to go too, actually. I sort of
How
was
many
ready for
years
the
had you been
next.
there?
Oh, how many years was it? It was like 4.
Okay, yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. 3 or 4, I think. Yeah. Wouldn't have been any more. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I had that thing where people say, oh, if you stay somewhere too long, you get stale, and you need to keep moving, and all the sort of. And at that time too, I was a graphic designer. Like, I wasn't an art director, because obviously I didn't have anyone to art direct. I was doing it all. So I was sort of ready to move, but then I got such good bonuses that I thought, well, let's just see it out, get the bonus, and go traveling. But I also I'd had enough too. Like, they were quite hard to work for, in that it was full on all the time. Like, it was very exhausting. So I was ready for a change of people too, I think. So
4
much.
years is a long time, especially at that. You still be quite young.
Yeah, and they were starting. Yeah, I was early 20s, mid 20s. Yep, mid 20s. And they were just starting. They just acquired another company, and they were having another designer come on board. Like, it was starting to change. So they're saying, oh, you're leaving at the wrong time, and all of this is about to happen. It's like, yeah, I need to go. I need to go traveling. So, yeah.
So where did you go? Where did you travel to?
We started with the US. So we flew to San Francisco, and with our shiny new backpacks. And we had this thing where we're just not going to book anything, not even change any money. I don't know what we're thinking. We'll just get off the plane and off we go.
We'll be right. What could possibly go wrong, Ren? Come on.
We just forgot to take into account that we might be a bit jet lagged, a little bit overwhelmed, and probably need some money to catch the bus to the hostel. So it was all, and someone ended up just like giving us money for the bus. And it was a Sunday morning, and there were homeless people. Like, we were in like this bad part of town, which we didn't even know we were in, with our shiny little backpacks and our Lonely Planet books out, going, oh, just
you're fresh-faced.
Yeah, down here around the corner, it should be on the left. And then meanwhile, Demo's like, put that book away. And there's all these like seedy people. Try and walk casually, like, where you're going, and you've got a purpose.
Fit in.
It's like, it's pretty funny. And then we just sort of got a room in this hostel, went to sleep, got over our jet lag, and then woke up and hit the town. It was quite fun.
So you travel with Damo, who's now your husband?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'd only been together a couple of years then, but we decided to do a big trip. But before we went, we did a practice road trip across to the Nullarbor and back, just to see if we could be in the same confined space together. So we did a practice run, but that was fun. We were away for 2.5 years.
So working overseas then, obviously.
Yeah, yep. So we travelled around. We did 3 months in the US, and then down to. So we bought a 72 VW camper and
Awesome.
drove on until it blew up, and then caught buses and stuff. And then went to South America, and for a month or so, and then back to North America, and we were on the internet one day, and we had to go to internet libraries and just
internet cafes.
Yes, and you only had a window, and it would clock out. Anyway, this button came up saying you've won, and we're like, oh, so we clicked on it. You just wouldn't do that now, but anyway, and we won this trip to the Bahamas, and
for real, like real.
Yeah.
Oh
real.
My gosh.
And Orlando, Daytona, and Orlando. Yeah, so we did that.
So where did you go from there? Where did you settle to do some work?
We ended up in Birmingham in the UK. So we had some friends that were in Birmingham. So we thought, well, we won't go to London, we'll go to Birmingham. And then we got a little apartment above a takeaway Indian shop.
Did you have the smells?
Yes. Yes, lots of curry. Oh, God, it was, yeah. So we lived there for a couple of years. That was fun. And then we went and then because our visas were running out, we weren't ready to come home. So we got visas for Ireland and went and worked in Dublin for a year. Well, so it was 3.5 years away. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so for those that don't know as well, Damo, who now works in the business with you.
Yes.
But didn't originally. So he's web design, is that right, Ren?
Yeah, he was a creative director at an agency, and then and web. So he's design and web. But he's our web person, yeah. Very talented.
So obviously, well, at that stage, did you think you might start a business with him? Well, did you think you might marry him?
I thought we'd always be together. I wasn't really into getting married, to be honest. I just knew we were like his soul buddy.
Yeah.
Well, we sort of did a bit of freelance when we got back, but when we were over there, we just had our own jobs. Yeah. So he worked, but he got all the cool jobs. Like he was working on Coca-Cola and stuff, and I was doing the I got a job with this place called Associated Independent Stores. So there was basically this organisation that had all these companies like Intersport and Housewares and Fashion, and they held the massive showroom, and they held it's like going to an exhibition.
And trade shows?
Yes, trade shows. Yes. So I'd do all the trade show. We'd have to hang all the banners up and do all the artwork for the trade shows, which was not Coca-Cola campaigns that were on the side of buses. But anyway, so he had cooler jobs than me. But anyway.
That's all right. We've gotten over that, I'm sure.
Yes, we have. But so we both got to work in the industry. We didn't have to do sort of cafe work.
Yeah. So did you find that quite easy, just picking up, in a different country? I know that English-speaking countries, but still, picking up a job there and kind of running with that?
Yeah. It was a bit tricky. You'd sort of think, oh, if I don't find something soon, because we sort of only went on it, we were sort of shoestringing it. Like we were saving enough money to get to the UK to be able to start working and have a little bit for rent or a bond.
Yep.
Yeah, but it was pretty easy, to be honest. They don't mind Aussies. Like they sort of liked our work ethic because we weren't really clock watchers. We'd stay until the job was done. So sometimes we'd get home at 10 or 9 or whatnot. And we have a different style. So our style was liked as well.
It's like more refreshing, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, they definitely said you can tell, you're not, you haven't studied in England, or you haven't, you've got a different style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, there you go. And how long, so it was 3.5 years, then back to, did you want to stay on, or did you just kind of think when the visas ran out in both England and Ireland that it was time to come home?
I would have stayed, and I got offered sponsorship as well. So, but Damo was ready to go. Yeah, Damo was ready to go, and I went, well, that's okay. Like, if you're ready, then I don't. Yeah. So, And we did, like, every time we'd like, we travelled as much as we could. So if it was a long weekend, we'd go to Paris for the weekend. If it was like, we just saw as much of Europe as we could. So we
Yeah.
and then took the Christmas time. Went to Egypt, and like, we just did lots of travelling.
Made the most of it.
Yeah, everything being at your fingertips, which
Yeah.
is part of living there, I guess.
Yeah, the luxury of not living in Australia.
Yeah, 1p plus taxes, Paris for the weekend. It's like, yay! I can't believe we're doing this. So it was fun.
And so did you come back to look for a job, or did you decide then I might start freelancing? What was your sort of thoughts when you came home?
Didn't want to settle down, so just wanted to freelance. Yeah. And we're both the same, because we just thought, well, if we don't like it, we can go again, even though we probably wouldn't be allowed to because we'd already done our visas. But it was that feeling of freedom, so not to be locked into full-time work as such. So that was good. But we did do a bit of freelance work, and then we did all these logos, and then never charged for them because they never got back to us. Like, oh, I don't think they like them. We just didn't send an invoice. So there was
the learnings along the way.
Yeah. And it was quite good money freelancing too.
Yeah. At what stage then did you kind of think, because I know that you both started a business with some friends with the cups. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So after freelancing, I ended up getting a job with OBM, which is a now called Town Square, another agency. And there I met Chrissy, who was the creative director, and then I was the art director. So that's my sort of art direction role started then. Oh, actually, it started in Dublin, but then, so we worked together, and then the production manager, Saskia, the three of us were really keen to do something for ourselves that was, so we sort of looked at like wrapping paper and things like that. And then I had this idea about wrapping yourself in Melbourne. So like panoramic photography and turning it into skirts and stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
Anyway, and like you could wear your favourite street or wear your favourite graffiti or whatever. Like it's a whole wear Melbourne. Anyway, and then Saskia had this idea of a silicone coffee cup, like a reusable coffee cup that looks like.
Before Keep Cup came out, was it? Or do you think it was about the same time?
I reckon Keep Cup came out while our prototypes were coming from China. So it was they were probably 2 months ahead of us.
Yeah.
Which was interesting because there's two Melbourne companies with the same idea at the same time. So that was called, we called it Hook Turn.
That's right. Yes.
Yes. Hook Turn Industries, and the BYO Coffee Cup. So it was made of food grade silicone, but to look like a takeaway cup.
Yeah.
And that was awesome. And in that,
doing that as alongside working.
Yeah. So we didn't know how it would go, but then we sold. So Damo's company, where he was working, bought like 2,000 of them or something. So our first shipment arrived, and we sold 6,000 in like 5 weeks.
Wow.
And we're like, oh my God, we're onto something. So then we started putting in these big orders, and it went really well for a while. And we started doing branded ones. So we branded, logos and all that sort of thing. But we did it all to start with, sold them online as well. So we had a little website up, which Damo built. And every time we sold a cup, it went chick-ching. And I was like, oh, I want to be in the kitchen, because this bungalow was full of coffee cups, like in box colours, and it was ridiculous. And the computer was inside in another room, and you'd just be cooking dinner and be like, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. I was like, oh my God. And I had this thing of packing them as soon as it went.
Yeah.
I just kept running out the back and packing these orders and running in and
back and forth.
Printing out the sticky labels. And yes, it was full on. And then cafes started ordering them. So I'd be delivering them before I got to my job.
Wow.
So 6 a.m. when coffee shops open, I'd go and drop off their delivery of reusable coffee cups, have a coffee, ask how they were selling, and then go to work.
Go to the next one.
And then my lunch break, I had to do a couple as well. I was like, oh, I don't know if we can sustain this. Like, I did it for probably a year and a half.
Yeah.
And Leo was like really young.
Leo, your son? Yep.
Yeah, he was like 2 or 3. He wasn't very old. So it was quite a juggle. But it was fun, and I learnt heaps about business and heaps about partnerships and just different personalities and all sorts of things. Yeah. So, and I sort of thought we were going to make a lot of money from it, but only because it seemed to go well, and then we had people interested in wanting to be distributor in the UK and the US. Went to coffee, we call them trade shows, which was interesting. And we got some orders in New York. Like, we sold it. But we didn't really probably exhaust the Australian market before we went overseas. So, yeah, we were a bit kind of, I don't know, a bit too quick. We probably should have, but we didn't. We sort of flew on the seat of our pants, I guess. We didn't have a strategic plan for that, really.
I was going to say, did you anticipate that happening?
Not really, no. But then we started getting, inquiries. So then we were having like FaceTime meetings with people in the UK and the US, and and it seemed like it was going to go. We got all these contracts written up for them to distribute it, and they had to order this amount to make it, because it was all like, what I've learnt is that you're never going to make much selling a low cost item divided by 3, because there's 3 business partners. And then, so I was like, oh yeah, actually I'm not going to make millions from this.
Remember, divided by 3.
Yeah, I know. And then when people wanted to, because it was okay when selling it online, but then when you've got to have a wholesale price, so there's a lot interesting about learning all about that. Yeah, it was definitely a learning curve and a stepping stone to like the next stage for Gosh, really.
So how did that kind of wind up?
It wound up because quite a few things. One, I think we all got a bit exhausted. There was
all working full time at the same time.
Yeah, well, actually, I left the agency and started doing it full time because it got beyond me being able to. And I thought, to grow this, I actually have to do it full time, which was quite scary because I defined myself by my art directing role. Like, that was who I was. So I was a bit scared, but thought, well, I can always go on freelance if it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Or
I can have something to fall back on.
And actually, Gosh, at the same time, is getting busier as well. Yeah, so I was juggling.
So you were doing, before you quit your job then, Ren, you were doing your full-time job, the cups, and Gosh on the side.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, didn't sleep a lot.
And hang on, did you have Leo at the stage?
Yeah, Leo was in the mix there, yeah.
But Leo was quite young as well.
Yeah. But I was a bit, he did child, he went to daycare early. Yeah. It was crazy, very crazy. Fun, crazy. Glad I did it, but probably wouldn't do it again.
Yeah. So how much longer did the cups continue once you left your full-time job?
2 years, 2.5 years.
Okay. Yeah.
Because the thing is, people kept coming out with a newer and better product too. Like, your Frankie cup, your Eco. Yeah, there's so much competition. So it was sort of like, and then someone completely ripped us off, and then we had to get legal advice, and we weren't really ready for that. That kind of took a big chunk of our funds. And it also disheartened us as well. And I did think about, well, actually, I could buy the other 2 out and have it for me and grow it. I did think about doing that because it was 3's a crowd too in the end. It was a bit, we all had different sort of ideas. Yeah, and it started to and we didn't have an exit strategy either, which you must have.
Yeah, especially in partnerships.
Yeah, it's sort of a bit icky. And I don't really like confrontation, so I did feel a little in the middle there sometimes. Yep.
So that's after all that, you kind of like, okay, I'm going to go whole hog with Gosh. Was that the feeling?
Yep. So we couldn't sell it, so we ended up donating the cups to a street eat, and then they went on to be donated to every person that bought a coffee. A cup got donated to a homeless person with a pair of socks or something in it.
Oh, beautiful.
It was. Yeah. Anyway, they went on
that's
to
a nice way to
my babies went on to, because it was a child really, went on to do good. So anyway, that was good. And then I said to Damo, I'm going to do Gosh full time. I think, I think it's time. And he goes, well, that all sounds good and well, but how are you going to do that? And I went, just you watch. So,
I love that. Just you watch, Damo.
yeah, and when he said that, I went, yes, I can do this. So I basically said yes and figured it out later.
Yeah.
To everything.
And did you find it hard working on your own after working in teams?
Yes, I did actually. It was a bit hard to be motivated and a bit lonely. Yeah. Because I'd just be sitting here by myself. Oh, actually, I was busy because I had a lot of work on, so I didn't have too much. But it was just like, what do you think about this? Or, let's just talk about some ideas or things like that you miss.
Yeah.
So I remember I would ring Damo, who'd be at work, and I'd ring him and say, I don't know what like. I feel a bit sort of lost or lonely, or I don't know. And he'd go, well, why don't you go for a walk down Sydney Road, or go to a bookshop, go and have a coffee, go out there and just get yourself sorted and come back. It's like, yeah, okay. Yeah. I sort of felt bad doing that. It's like, I should be sitting here working, not out walking around having coffee or looking at stuff. Like, I kind of felt guilty.
That guilt, yeah.
Yeah, when in really it was, it motivates you and gives you inspiration and, yeah.
Do you think that was one of the biggest challenges, especially at the beginning, working on your own, kind of allowing yourself to kind of find your own rhythm, I guess?
Yeah, definitely. On a few levels, I think. One, that whole sort of work versus the housework, which is just out the door and up the path a bit.
Yeah. Did you always work in the bungalow? Did you ever work in the house when you first started?
We did have, we worked in the house, but we had to tag team the computer because we had one computer and Damon would have jobs on, because we've always had our own. To start with, we had our own freelance work, but it just registered the Gosh name and we did it under Gosh, but he'd have his client work and I'd have mine. And then we decided when the cups left within this space, we could turn into a studio space. Yeah. So that was good. It was an adjustment, definitely.
Yeah. What point do you think, like how many years in, because like you said, 16 years has been a long time, at what point do you reckon, I've got this? You kind of go, okay, it's humming along.
Yeah.
I think I'm doing okay. Or do you, I'm sure you've hit that point, right? I was going to say 16 years later.
Yeah. No, definitely. Well, there just became this point where, because I love building a relationship with my clients. Like, it's all about the rapport. So I would get, and because we've been around for a while and worked in a few different places, there's been heaps of recommendation. Like, all of our Gosh has come because someone's worked with us who are happy with the work that we've done, who've been, and so it goes. So it's all come via recommendation. So I'd find that I got to a point where I would never have people here for a coffee, because I just thought that's not professional, and if they slip over on the path, I don't really want to deal with that. So I'd be going to meetings all the time, and then I'd quote, and I would be winning everything. I'm like, wow, this is cool. Oh my God. And Damon's like, this is a bit out of control. Like, because he's like, how are you going to do that? And I said, I'm going to do it anyway. And I obviously probably wasn't quoting high enough. Like, that was a long time ago. But everything I quoted, I won. It's like, now we've got to do it.
Yeah.
And I had a business coach at the time who, she just said, say yes, figure it out later. So I kind of ran with that for a bit.
Yeah.
And then it got to a point where I said yes when I shouldn't have. And so we had early on a couple of clients that were just completely the wrong fit. And really didn't quote enough to deal with the pain of them being a wrong fit. So it did get to that point where you have to have your spidey senses out, going yes or no. Like,
trust your intuition.
Yeah, if it doesn't feel right, just don't do it. Because then you end up feeling a bit, stressed, and you get those icky emails, and yes. So it just went from gangbust bigger to bigger. Yeah. And because Damo would be, it got to the point where he'd go to work and then he'd come home and and he'd work all night nearly. Like, so he was going around the clock as well just to get everything done. And he sorry.
That's right. So at what point did he leave his job to start working full time in the business?
So he got he got non-Hodgkin lymphoma, and had to stop working and went through chemo and whatnot. And so, and after that, and then that made me work even more harder because he was like, he sort of blamed working too much, made him get sick, and sort of said, I don't want to work anymore. I'm like, oh God, we've got a mortgage, we've got 2 kids, I'm just going to have to work more. Like, so I just started, and then I just was working around the clock because that was my sort of defense mechanism to keep busy until all this is done. So he thankfully went through all the treatment and was okay, and only went back to his work sort of 3 days a week.
Okay.
But Gosh was getting busier and busier and doing like a couple of days of Gosh. And I was trying to just give him work to do, but not make him feel
overload.
But he needed to do something because he was like putting new letters on the house and kind of making weird stuff. Baking too many sticky what are they called? Date scones. Like,
yum.
Knock on the bungalow door, date scones. I'm like, oh my God, I'm working away eating date scones while you're in the kitchen baking. And
he was being the perfect little homemaker.
So he needed to do something. I'm like, well, if you'd like to do this anyway. So then it got to the it got to the point where he went to his boss and went, actually got enough of my own work now, gonna leave. And so he still did work for them, but from a freelance, like Gosh did it for quite a while, which was good, just to know it was big chunky work coming in, because that was big too, because he was like, from a family point of view, because Gosh is our income now, like that's what we do. And so to get to the point where Gosh could support us was pretty big. So then, and that's from there we've just gone. That was goodness me, that would be 7 years ago now, I think. 6-7 years ago. So
and now how many have you got in your team? Because you now moved the business out of the home, out of the bungalow.
Pre-COVID we weren't here, back in the bungalow, but we have our studio space around the corner, which is great. And so we have another designer, a junior web designer, and one account manager at the moment, but sometimes 2, and then another tech guy who's web but does makes things talk to things with APIs and things like that. Just as like websites and the demand and functionality that you often have to do. And another senior web developer as well. But everyone's contract, but they pretty much do work weekly. Like, it's not like, we'll just call you in 6 months. And our junior web girl would be in like 1 or 2 days a week. Pre-COVID and whatnot, but
Well, I guess that's the thing as well, because it is, Gosh is the family income, as you said before. And so by having these people on contract, that frees up when it is a bit quieter. I know that you're never quiet, but if it was to be quiet, then at least you have a buffer in that you're not paying wages out when there's no work there.
And it just it suits everyone, and we're all about really the flexible working. So if you can, it's sort of not rigid 9 to 5, whatever. It works well.
And so that would have worked perfectly then. Perfectly is probably not a good word to use, but when COVID hit,
it did.
Had to work flexibly. You already had those systems in place that they could do that.
And because Damo's he's also our IT guy as well. Like, he's pretty good with that. So all the servers, it's set up and everyone's got access, and you can just pull things off, work on it, drop it back. Like, all of that works seamlessly. It's really easy. It's good.
So looking back, Ren, I know that, as you mentioned, having clients that weren't a right fit, and then you also mentioned you're probably undercharging. What other kind of like big learnings do you feel that you went through because of different experiences that popped up?
If something isn't right, then I'm more likely to fix it rather than go, oh, well, let's just get this job finished and done, right? Rather than it's more like, well, if this isn't working for everyone, then you need to either look at the arrangement or work out, just so have like resign a client or do like look after ourselves and look after the people that work with us, which I probably never would have thought about doing, but it's not worth feeling sick about, really. If something's not right. And business is just hard anyway. It's sort of a lot of like I don't just sit here being a designer all day. So many hats to wear, which I suppose having people like an account manager that shares that load has been like really good. I don't think I wouldn't be here now without that. And things that you're not good at too. So like Stacey's does our accounts, and she's awesome. Like instead of me trying to do that, it's like, no, that takes me all day and it's still wrong. Like realizing where your strengths and weaknesses are, and then having people to support those weaknesses. Because you can't grow without that, to be honest.
Well, you can't do all the things, can you?
No, you can't do all the and you're not doing them properly. Like,
that's right.
I strongly believe in that. People are good at what they do, and you should. It's like me trying to be, a plumber. Well, it's just silly. Or an accountant, bookkeeper. It's that, and I think that's enabled us to grow as well. Just going, you know what? It's time to have this. It's time to have outsource this. It's time to find like having a junior web person, because Damo can't do all the work. Like that's just having those systems in place. And just having our space too, like our office, getting a studio space where you can have everyone in has been really good as well, because it's just that FaceTime and working on things together and going for pictures together rather than, that's been really good. I can't wait to get back there actually.
And I guess that's it as well, because you are working with Damo, it is in the family, to have a little separation from your home would, I guess, help with that as well.
And that's probably one of the main drivers for that, was just to separate work life with family life, and just be a bit more present in the family life moment, because I could happily sit out here all night just having a great old time doing design work. But yes, the kids need dinner and so it sort of it puts a line in the sand of work and home, which I know I think is another thing that's helped to grow the business too, because otherwise you just burn out. I wouldn't stop.
I'm going to ask you one question, Ren, to finish up on, because I think I've known you, I've probably known you about 7 years now, I reckon.
Yeah, or even more, I think.
Maybe more. Anyway, so a long time.
I reckon Olive was a baby, and she's 8.
She's 8, so maybe 7.5, just 8, around. Anyway, around 7 to 8 years. And I've seen you grow the business so much in that time, and do amazing things, like really amazing things. Are you proud of yourself?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it's great. I probably would, if you'd said this to me like, I don't know, 5 years ago, I wouldn't probably put myself here. The clients that we win and the work that we're doing is just, I think, oh my God, here we are in the bungalow tapping away. And it's, you do good work and people recommend, and away you go. But definitely proud of it. Yeah. And also the people that I get to work with too, like, because I was chatting to Damo about this last night, and we're just talking about Stacey and Kate, and I was like, oh, they're people that I've met through She Will Shine that are, an integral part of our team too, which is awesome. Yeah. So it's amazing.
Isn't it amazing, speaking, like you're talking about Stacey and Kate, who you've also known through She Will Shine for many, many years, but isn't it's all about the relationships, because you find the people that are the right people and then they're the right fit to work with?
Yeah, it's absolutely about relationships, and that's another thing that allows you to be grow your business, but also confidently, because when you've got good relationships with good people, you trust the outcomes, and it's just a joy. It's fun to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
well, thank you so much for your time today, Ren. It's so good to catch up with you. We don't, COVID has hit, but we don't get to catch up as much as we would like pre-COVID. So I'm looking forward to getting together for that pub lunch that we keep talking about soon, hopefully.
Me too. And thanks for having me. It's good.
That's
Yeah, I
awesome.
really
Thank
enjoyed
you.
it.
Good. I'm glad you did. And thank you to everyone who is listening or watching as well. We will be back with another fabulous episode of the She Will Shine podcast soon. See you later. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode of the She Will Shine podcast, we invite you to check out shewillshine.com.au. She Will Shine is the essential support network you need to grow a thriving, meaningful business. We can help you grow your network, connect and develop genuine relationships, be supported and support others in building and growing a successful business on your terms. Say goodbye to working alone and become a member at shewillshine.com.au.